everybody, my name is Silly Billy, but you can call me Billy. Because I've been quite busy with IRL work stuff, I've not really had the opportunity to upload very lengthy and detailed videos. Minus that one big April Fool's video from a few days back. In case you hadn't noticed, surprise, April Fools! And if you didn't watch that video just yet or haven't seen it pop up in your recommendations because YouTube likes to not show things that aren't specifically about the demographic that I'm about to target here, please make sure to go check it out. I poured a lot of time in that, and honestly, I think it's one of my silliest videos. You know, April Fools is a time where I like to do dumb, goofy shit, and that video is definitely dumb, goofy shit. Speaking of dumb, goofy shit, TomJake Season 2. No, that's not true. Despite my lack of time, there was still a topic I really wanted to discuss, which is TomJake. In February, Odd Nation Cartoons announced the surprise return of TomJake Season 2. Or, well, surprise to me at least. And quite frankly, there is a lot to unpack with this announcement. So let's take a deeper look. Because frankly, this show really intrigues me. But also, it leaves me worried in more ways than one. So let's take a dive. Let me get the worrisome bits out of the way first, because usually I like to start with the good things and then move into the bad, but since there isn't really anything bad about this whole situation, I'm just gonna get my concerns out of the way so that we can focus on the more exciting stuff afterwards, and so that you can get your hate comments out of the way first. Sounds good? So, as you may have noticed, TomJake doesn't come for free. In fact, there is quite the price tag to this show, and most of my concerns really center around this crowdfunding model. First off, holy crap, that is a lot of money. 175,000 real American clams for 8 episodes of television, with a minimum bar of 87,000 for 4 episodes. That is a hefty price. Okay, so this number actually got inner economics teacher Billy and me to go wild, and I started to do a little math, and guys, I think I have found a far more cost-productive way to do this. So, the last episode of TomJake totaled to about 90 minutes or so, with double greetings being a minute long each, and costing approximately $210 as of writing this. That means we could total one episode of TomJake for just over $4,000. Yes, the animation quality is just going to be reduced to them sitting in a chair and talking about stuff with very happy, cheerfully corporate music in the background, but we could realistically get you a full 8-episode season for just over $32,000. This will be quite the group project though, and we'll need to coordinate this properly. So send me your best ideas for a script in the bottom and then attach $210. I'll get to work for you. I am glad to see that all of the proceeds will be returned if the bar isn't cleared, but still, I think asking this much for comparably this little is quite the ask from your viewers. Now, to be clear, I will be the last person to question the legitimacy of this number. I've had the pleasure of working with Jared and Robert for a few years now, and never have I really gotten the image that they are trying to be shady about revenue. If you look at the greetings, for example, those have a hefty price tag too, but they are really just used to support the people involved in the production process. And as far as I know, they don't pocket a dime from that themselves. So I fully believe that this number is an accurate guess as to the production cost of the show, and viewers are not going to be swindled. One footnote though, I don't quite understand why producing 8 episodes is comparably more expensive than just producing 4 when taking the average cost of production per episode. If Jared and Robert are watching this, I would genuinely be really interested in a cost breakdown, but that's just the economics teacher and me talking. You can send this in Discord too, you don't need to blast this fully on YouTube. Regardless of whether the amount is a fair price, it is still a large sum of money, and I wonder if Odd Nations is trusting too much on the money-raising capabilities of its fans. As of writing this segment, the fundraiser is now 4 out of 8 weeks in and has slightly above 40% of the total funds raised for the 4-episode mark, and with most donations probably coming in the earlier weeks, I'm starting to wonder if this funds will be raised at all. But they have also stated that the campaign will run for another month if they are close to getting their goal, and donations appear to be quite steady, so I assume by May 30th there will be enough funds for at least 4 episodes. But that does bring me to another point of contention. The amount of episodes is currently based only on how much the fundraiser brings in. So what is the story here? This might just be me, but I find it a bit odd that the total story length is going to be determined by how much money is brought in. Depending on that, this show could be twice as short as they initially planned, and I wonder what that means for the overarching tale within this season of TomJake. Because right now, I see 3 options regarding the current story plans. Either, 1, there is no story yet, which means they are banking solely on the fact that Tom and Jake will get butts in seats. I mean, they will, but still. 2, the story is written around 4 episodes and will have to drag on with a lot of fluff if they manage to get more. Or Or 3, the story is written around 8 episodes and will have to be rushed incredibly if they manage to get less. I might be completely wrong in this assumption though, and the story is already finished for every single draft, but I will say that it is quite telling that we have to speculate on the overall storyline, especially for a show they expect people to put this much faith in money-wise. This ties into pretty much the only real issue I have right now, which is this poster. Apparently, the show is going to feature a whole cast of characters, among which 13 previous Disventure Camp contestants. And to Disventure Camp fans watching, please be aware that many of these characters are very likely to only appear as cameos. I mean, besides Tom and Jake, this show apparently has 14 additional characters to balance, just as for Forest Ranger, who got absolutely robbed. And with a minimum of 4 episodes, that means most characters probably get something along the lines of how TomJake Season 1 did the party at the end. If I have to guess right now, the contestants that will actually play a significant role in this story in at least one episode are Miriam, Gabby, Ellie, and potentially Allie and Ashley. But if I have to put money on just one character getting a serious role in this season, it's Amelie. She is clearly here with a story purpose and just happens to be a Disventure Camp contestant herself too. But as soon as her Season 4 Episode 1 confessional revealed her to be a wedding planner too, I think everyone had the same collective thought of, oh, how would her and Jake get along? But yeah, I feel like this poster could have been done a little more gracefully? Because I feel like people will invest in TomJake because they really want to see more of, say, Ashley and Will, or see the continuation of Hunt's Allie's story, are probably gonna be left disappointed. This is not to say I disagree with fan service, or including all of these characters. Obviously, we want more screen time of characters we've come to greatly love, and Jake, but this to me runs the risk of baiting fans into donating for specific characters to return, which is unlikely. And knowing Jared and Robert once again, it is certain that their intention is not to scam their viewers, hence why I'm bringing it up now. I think all of this can be pretty easily improved by just a short synopsis of what the Season 2 story will entail. So, what does TomJake mean for the future of Disventure Camp? And no, I don't mean how will TomJake deteriorate from the quality of Season 4, because TomJake is supposed to be created by a different studio entirely, which is also why it's such an expensive project. I mean, what can we expect from other older characters in regards to their own spin-off shows? It is no shocker that TomJake gets a Season 2 before any of the characters even get a Season 1. Just looking at the greetings alone, Tom and Jake are easily the 2 most popular characters of the show. You can also see this by looking at how the Disventure Camp Discord server lights in flames whenever I say something slightly negative about either of them. But no, I don't think the success of TomJake immediately opens the doors to spin-offs for characters like Alec and Fiore, James and Aiden, and luckily also not for Rhea. However, I do think the reverse is true. If TomJake is not successful, there is absolutely no chance that they'll seriously consider another spin-off show. At least not until they have like doubled in size again. If Tom and Jake can't pull this off, I'm pretty sure the 2-hour documentary about Forest Ranger is not gonna happen anytime soon. But wouldn't that be something? In that sense, doing TomJake Season 2 via this crowdfunding model actually makes a lot of sense. Disventure Camp mainline seasons target an audience who like animated elimination shows like Total Drama or Object shows, while TomJake specifically targets Disventure Camp fans who also like to see more of Tom and Jake. That market is significantly smaller, and therefore outsourcing the show to another studio entirely and sending the bill to the fans who want to see more of this, assuming there are enough of them, is actually a pretty smart plan. I do think that a successful run for TomJake will allow Odd Nations to do another one of these projects, probably for some of the other fan favorite characters from Season 4 and onward. In that case, I hope the ad revenue that will be raised from TomJake Season 2 will be used as partial funding for this new show. In regards to the story of TomJake Season 2, I feel like a low-stake, slice-of-life story on episodic basis makes the most sense. This fits best with the whole not knowing how many episodes you'll make thing too. And I thought, let's get the old writer's hat back out of the closet and see what a potential Season 2 could be about. These are not necessarily predictions, but I could vibe with TomJake Season 2 if it focuses around this particular story. Okay, real quick before we get into this, I just finished recording and writing the entire pitch for this, and then I was editing all of this together, and I found out that I forgot something really dumb from Season 1, and now I feel really silly. So I'm just gonna keep my proposed Episode 1 in, and then afterwards we're gonna rewrite the thing, okay? Take a listen. So, we open up TomJake and both of them now being moved in with each other and having enjoyed each other's time for quite a while now. They're in this phase where it is time for the next step, but they're not really seeing eye to eye on the whole thing yet. Jake, having his entire working life revolve around marriages, assumes it is only natural that Tom will propose to him any day now. Tom wants to spend the rest of his life with Jake as well, but he is hesitant about marriage. This episode probably focuses more on Tom's past and will feature some encouragement from his mother, probably involving the relationship that Tom has with his father too, and how his mother tells him that Tom could never be that person to Jake. The B-plot of this episode would see Jake become insecure about if Tom is actually committed to this relationship, with his job experience showing him all sorts of happy vibes that he wants to share with Tom, who then awkwardly avoids the topic entirely. Miriam will probably smack some sense into him this episode that Tom is not like everybody else, and that Jake should not want what everyone else has, because what Tom and Jake have is far stronger. The episode ends with Jake wanting to apologize to Tom for being selfish and a little bit of a dum-dum, but then being interrupted by Tom, who proposes to Jake. Bonus points if the wedding ring is of any significance. For example, Miriam's old wedding ring or something. Editing Billy here, I'm back again, and yes, I completely forgot that Tom and Jake already are engaged by the end of season 1. Again, I feel really stupid. I do not need you to point this out in the comments. However, I think this point still kind of stands. I think the main thing I would like to stick around is just the insecurity about actually going onward with this marriage, but probably this means we'll have more time to actually plan the wedding itself and have shenanigans revolve around it. God, my pitch was so much better. Why did they include this in season 1? And now I'm annoyed. Let's just continue with episode 2. The rest of this season focuses on the long, thrilling, messy, and exciting road from the proposal all the way up till the marriage. Episode 2 has Tom and Jake looking for a wedding planner. Jake initially wants to do it all himself, but Tom really wants Jake to not be working during his own wedding. So Jake reluctantly agrees. They find someone who is apparently the best in the field, and yes, you've guessed it, this is the Amelie episode. Jake and Amelie disagree on pretty much everything. There could be some earlier rivalry tied into this, or it could just be that they quickly grew very annoyed of each other, but Jake ends up still wanting to arrange everything himself and directing his anger at Tom when things go even slightly wrong. Ultimately, Jake and Amelie rekindle as they see eye to eye again, and Tom and Jake rehire Amelie as their wedding planner. Bonus points if this episode ends on a final disagreement between Jake and Amelie as a joke. For example, that they still can't agree on the color of the flower bouquet or something. I don't know, I just completely visualized this scene with Amelie going, "Alright, I will call the florist to get the orchids. I thought we agreed on peonies." And then Amelie going, right. We'll see how things go, And then all of them giggling. That's just the scene I have in my head. Is anybody picturing this too? Episode 3 is a 1-hour anthology episode focused solely on Forest Ranger and his survival in the wilderness as he chases an unexplored monster lurking in the shadows of his woods. Just kidding, there's more drama about the wedding. This time in regards to who is invited. I'm gonna make a very bold prediction here and say that this episode focuses on Jake's mother, who starts to have a change of heart regarding her son and her homophobic views when she finds out that Jake is getting married. This episode is gonna start on Tom and Jake talking about who should be invited, starting very lighthearted with friends. Bonus points if either Jake or Tom cheekily suggests inviting one of the villains from Disventure Camp All-Stars and all of them laughing it off. I can see them mentioning Ria or Yule or Fiore, either of those three. And then slowly becoming a more serious talk as the topic shifts towards parents. Tom and Jake both agree to only invite Tom's mother, but Jake's brother is invited too. This is how Jake's mom figures out about the wedding, and the episode is spent on Jake's mom trying to rebuild a bond with her son, similar to the Sean Jake story of season 1. While the episode does not resolve years of trauma for Jake, as it shouldn't. Whoa, editing Billy here, I'm gonna freeze frame that for a second. I meant it shouldn't resolve that in one episode. Not that Jake should suffer through his trauma for the rest of his life. Don't take that out of context. It does eventually end with Jake accepting his mother enough to send both of his parents an invitation, to which his father still declines. I imagine Tom is a little B-plot story this episode. It's probably something with Lucia or with Gabby coming to town early. This is the episode I am least certain on, especially because of how sensitive this mother-son bond would be and how delicate that story would need to be told in order to not rush things or significantly lesser the impact of Jake's experiences. But I think there is a potential story here that could be explored. Depending on whether the show has 6 or 8 episodes, the bond with Jake's parents could be explored more. Speaking of which, if there are more episodes, I expect many of them to just be used as filler episodes to resolve yet another thing surrounding the wedding. Tom goes suit shopping with Lucia, Aiden comes to town to host a bachelor party for Jake, stuff like that. Final episode, it's the day of the wedding, and oh boy does a lot of stuff go wrong. Stuff fails at the last minute, some people are stuck at the airport, and despite dealing with many of this stuff pretty much on a daily basis, Jake cannot rationalize this situation for his own wedding and just loses it completely. Meanwhile, Tom is starting to have cold feet again after having a realistic depiction of a panic attack. He runs away from the wedding. When Jake finds out about this, he immediately drops every concern he has for the wedding and sets out to find Tom, with the attending guests ultimately joining in on the search. Speaking of guests, this is also where I expect most of the poster cast to show up and have like 1 or 2 lines each. Jake ultimately finds Tom at a spot that means something to them. A lake or a beach or a watchtower where they can watch Forrest Hunter chase down that shadowy monster that's been leaving bloody trails in its wake. Just kidding, it's a park bench or something. And as Tom starts apologizing and crying his heart out to Jake, Jake reassures him that everything is okay and that the only thing that matters is that the two of them are together. At this point, I can see one of 2 endings. Either the wedding still continues and everything magically works itself out in the last minute with no delayed guests and everything being perfect, or my preferred ending, which is that the wedding is called off and we make a time jump to 1 or 2 years later with Tom and Jake now being even happier than before and making truth of that the only thing that matters is you promise they made to each other. Bonus points if they are on vacation, on a boat, during a sunset. Tom is holding this long monologue to Jake about how happy he is with their relationship, eagerly fumbling around in his jacket searching for the same ring he promised Jake the first time around. As he gets nervous, he turns around back to Jake to propose for the second time, but the plot twist is that Jake is already on one knee, holding a ring of his own this time. They both say yes to each other and it's a very cute, happy scene. We make another time jump immediately to a year later, this time with the perfect wedding and all of the important people to Tom's and Jake's lives present. Bonus picks if we got a shot of Amelie having gotten her wish on the thing they disagreed with, like having gotten the choice of the flower pick. And ultimate bonus points if Forest Ranger is the ceremony master. Tom and Jake get married, they kiss, everybody cheers, and they live happily ever after. The end. Again, this is just a way I can see the Tom Jake show happening, but I'd really love to hear what you think this show has in store for us again. All in all, I am excited to see what will come with Tom Jake. While I am not the biggest fan of neither Tom nor Jake, for both of them my favorite portrayal is in the Tom Jake season 1, so I'm actually quite looking forward to a follow-up of their story. And I want to put my money where my mouth is and make an official pledge to the Tom Jake show. This video will be a little gift from me to the Disventure Camp community and to the Tom Jake show itself. All the money that is made in ad revenue by this video on April 30th will be donated to Tom Jake. That way you can support the show a little too if you don't have the means or desires to support financially. Just watch this video in the background a couple of times, with the ads on, of course. I will post a little update to the total sum by the time we get to April 30th, but to give you all a rough guesstimation, it will probably be around 50 to 70 bucks, assuming this video does well. If you want to help increase that number, all you really have to do is just watch some ads on this video and keep it on repeat somewhere on a PC. Maybe find a friend who can hack things and can put it like a virus on everybody's computer. Please don't do that. Share it with your friends though. Make sure they watch this video too, and it will be a win-win for everybody. But for now, I am very curious to hear your thoughts on Tom Jake. Are you excited for the show? What are your predictions or desires for this new season? Let me know in the comments. A special shout out goes out to Valkyrinium, Star Wars Timbin, Noah Loves DC Season 4, Creeper, XOX, and The Name is Tubby for their continuous support on the Sillybilly channel, as well as all the other members to the channel. Thank you so much. For now though, I want to thank you for watching. This has been Sillybilly, and remember, Forest Ranger is the best Disventure Camp character of all time. Howdy!